I imagine that you might have found the title for this podcast episode, You Have to Change, either intriguing or a little bit offensive. But this week I've been reflecting on the different levels of entrepreneurship. And the reason why is because I'm getting ready to launch Education Business Club in a few weeks' time. And it got me thinking about how we need to be different at different levels of entrepreneurship. And that can be really difficult. And when I look back on my journey, there have been a lot of times where I have been in the wrong mode. I've run my business in the wrong mode for what was actually needed. And I think it can be quite scary as an entrepreneur because a lot of us, we like to be in the startup phase. I am that person. I am really enjoying the startup phase of Education Business Club right now. But we can get comfortable in that phase, can't we? And then when our business grows a little bit and we actually need to change mode, we don't know how to change mode. We get stuck in that. And for me, I don't know about you, I have found the transition into the different levels of entrepreneurship really difficult. I found them challenging because the startup phase for me signals safety. Safety for me to control things in a way that I like to. One of the reasons I went into entrepreneurship after leaving the classroom was so that I could control my time, I could have freedom, I could be my own boss. And I remember in the startup phase and also in the growth phase, I would think forward to some of the modes that were being described in business books I was listening to, and I would think of those scenarios with fear. I would imagine boardrooms and suited and booted men. Now, I have no problem wearing a suit as a female, I used to wear suits quite a lot when I was a supply teacher, a 21-year-old supply teacher. I looked about 10 and I would go around some really tough secondary schools wearing this skirt suit just to make me look older, to be honest, and give me some kind of authority. So it's not the suits I'm afraid of. It was a fear of what I didn't know, what they knew and I didn't know, because I've never been to business school. I haven't done a business degree. And I'm not saying that they have, but we can put barriers in place, can't we? And for me, I just felt that thinking in that way, thinking in that mode, to be in a machine building mode is to face things that I'm uncomfortable with, to face what I don't know, and perhaps lose control again. So I wanted to talk about this today because I want you to think about the phase that you're in your business and also try and assess whether the mode that you're operating in is right for the level of business that you're at now, where you should be as an entrepreneur. And that's what Education Business Club is going to be all about, helping you operate at the right level for the phase that you're in now. And even when I think back to Education Business Club in 2021, when I founded it, because I was the CEO at Classroom Secrets then, I ran Education Business Club like a CEO. I was in CEO mode. And that was one of the reasons why I found it so difficult, because it was a startup. And I wasn't treating it like a startup. I wasn't loving it like a startup. And I wasn't operating in startup mode. Whereas now, at Education Business Club, I am operating it like a startup. I'm in there, in startup mode, and it's working well. Classroom Secrets, on the other hand, is past the machine stage, but also you're never done with the machine stage. You should always be making sure that you're oiling that machine, that you're changing the parts that are needed. But when you're in the machine stage, you have to think of completely different things. You need to be thinking of other ways to bring revenue in, things that you might have never thought about in the beginning. You can't run the business as a startup and expect the results of a machine. It just does not work like that. When you're in the machine stage, you've got to be thinking about coaching others. You've got to bring other people in and listen to them. Then you've got to steer them in the right direction based on the vision and mission that you've come up with. So there are big differences. And I want you to think about the phase your business is in right now. So I'm going to run through the descriptions from Education Business Club on the tiers that are going to be available on the 29th of November onwards. So tier 1, you're thinking about starting an education business, but you've not yet. Or you've started working on it, Maybe you've had a couple of sales, you might have just registered it, but it's not really turning into a business, and you're not going to be able to rely on it for a steady income just yet. If you're in this stage, are you thinking like a startup? Are you thinking about hustling and grinding and bootstrapping and saving money? Because this is the mode you need to be in if you would fit tier 1 of Education Business Club. Tier 2, you've started your education business and you feel like you've had some success, but you know that there's so much more for you out there. You're probably not making a proper living out of it yet, especially in the beginning, and you really want to make sure that sales are more consistent. You're thinking about growth, you might have brought the odd person in, or you're thinking about bringing people in to help you in the business. And the main thing is, you just want to make sure that you set your business up properly for success in the future. So if you identify yourself as in this stage that would fit into tier 2, are you still operating in startup mode where you're not wanting to spend any money and you're wanting to do everything yourself? Or are you operating within the realms of tier 2, preparing your business to make sure that you can have a solid team now and in the future? And tier 3, you've been growing your education business for a while. You're trying to do things a bit more seriously now, but it's difficult. And you've got to ask questions of more experienced entrepreneurs, but you don't always know what you don't know, especially when they don't know the education sector. You want to learn how to take your business to the next level, how to get a solid but small team in place and be able to lead them well. It's not just about having the bums on seats. And one of your biggest worries is how to get the team to see things the way that you see it right now. So if you're in this stage, are you causing bottlenecks in the company by not creating the right systems and processes and getting out of the way? Or are you operating as somebody who is building a machine, who is stepping out of the business, who's working on it, who's doing all of the right things to make sure that the business can run without you, the entrepreneur? And just for the sake of completion, tier 4 at Education Business Club is the same as tier 3. Often people are at a similar level or further on in that journey, but they want to have specific support from myself and Ed in their business, but they are still working on building a machine. So have a think, which tier would you put your business in right now? How does an entrepreneur need to operate within that tier? And are you operating as that entrepreneur needs to operate right now? Or do you need to make some changes? Do you need to make some shifts? Now, obviously, you can do this by yourself. It can be a hypothetical question, but you can also reach out to me as well, particularly on Instagram. I'm at Claire Riley Teacher Entrepreneur or at Education Business Club. Let me know. Are you operating in the way that you should for the tier that your business fits in or not? Do you need support with that? I love getting mail in my DMs, so I will look out for yours.